welcome to the deep dive. Now, if you're aiming to really level up your English, especially with those trickier phrases, those advanced bits, you should definitely check out and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Seriously, great stuff there.
Yeah, they've got some really useful content.
And today, we're diving deep into one of their videos. What we do here is take the info you're after, the sources you've given us, like today, it's Kayla's brilliant video, 111 advanced English phrases and idioms, and we pull out the key stuff.
The important bits, the surprising connections.
Exactly. The knowledge you need, but without making your head spin. We're kind of like your conversational guides, exploring language together. And our mission today is to really get under the skin of these phrases, understand what they really mean, the subtle bits, and figure out how you, our listener, the learner, can actually use them confidently in everyday conversation.
Right, because you're someone who wants to learn efficiently, get those aha moments, but maybe not feel buried in textbook jargon.
Precisely. So expect a chat, not a lecture. We're curious too.
Indeed. And Kayla's video, it's quite comprehensive, covers a lot of ground. Our goal isn't just, ticking off a list. It's about understanding the why.
The context. The origin, maybe.
Yes, exactly. Where did they come from? How do you use them effectively? What do they tell us about, the culture behind the language? We'll be looking at idioms from all sorts of places, the kitchen, sports, just everyday life.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump in. First one Kayla brings up, simmer down. Now, literally, cooking, right? You lower the heat on something boiling.
Right. You bring it down from a rolling boil to just simmering, gentle heat.
So how does that picture translate to conversation?
Well, the connection's pretty clear, actually. Just like turning down the stove heat calms the liquid. Telling someone to simmer down is asking them to calm down emotionally.
Okay. Less intense.
Exactly. Become less agitated, relax a bit. It's like turning down their emotional temperature, before things, boil over, which is another idiom we might get to.
Right. Makes sense.
And Kayla's right. It's definitely casual, spoken English. You'd probably say it to a friend who's getting maybe a little too worked up about something small.
Got it. A bit gentler than just shouting, calm down. Maybe.
Depending on your tone. Yeah, it can be. Okay, next. Kayla looks at two contrasting ideas about complexity. There's a lot to it, and there's nothing to it.
These seem pretty straightforward on the surface. Complicated versus simple.
They are, but Kayla's examples really nail it. There's a lot to it that tells you instantly something's complex. It takes effort, maybe skill, knowledge.
Like her Thanksgiving dinner example. All the dishes, the timing.
Exactly that. Turkey, stuffing, sides. It's a whole production. Definitely a lot to it, but then there's nothing to it.
Simple. Easy peasy.
Right, like making eggs for breakfast. Most people can manage that without much fuss. There's really nothing to it. They're useful phrases for quickly sizing up a task,
Oh, yeah. Though sometimes someone tells you there's nothing to it, and then you try and discover there was actually quite a lot to it they forgot to mention.
Happens all the time. Which kind of leads into the next one, actually. Half-baked. That image of undercooked food is pretty strong.
Yeah, like bread dough that's still gooey inside. Not good.
Exactly. And figuratively, a half-baked idea or plan is just like that, not fully thought through. It's poorly planned, maybe missing key details, fundamentally flawed somehow.
Lacks proper cooking time, metaphorically speaking.
Precisely. Kayla's example is great, suggesting an indoor playground on a freezing, snowy Saturday with little kids.
Oh boy. Chaos.
Total chaos, right. Overcrowded meltdown city. That's a classic half-baked idea. It didn't account for the obvious reality of the situation. Needed more time in the oven of thought.
Definitely been there. Had those moments. Okay, moving on to something more forceful. Cut it out. Kayla says it means stop it, but with an attitude.
Yeah, that's the key bit, the attitude. It does mean stop doing something annoying, but it's not polite. It's impatient, maybe snarky, even rude.
So not for your boss.
Probably not. As Kayla advises, it's best reserved for people you know really well, siblings, close friends, maybe your partner when they're doing something deliberately irritating.
Like poking you repeatedly.
Exactly like that. Cut it out. It's an exasperated command, not a gentle request. Use with caution in more formal settings or with people you don't know well.
Good advice.
Well,
definitely not dropping that in the next board meeting. Okay, let's talk about a feeling I suspect many of us know well. Being overwhelmed. The phrase, have a lot on your plate.
Oh, yes. Very common, very relatable. It simply means you've got a ton of responsibilities, tasks, commitments,
Right.
Just a lot to handle at once.
Your plate is full, maybe overflowing.
Right. Kayla gives great examples from her own life college with 18 credits and 2 jobs.
Wow. That's definitely a lot on the plate.
For sure. And then, later in life, managing work, family, the house, it's different stages, same feeling. But she also makes a good point that sometimes you get better at managing it.
Yeah, you learn to juggle, prioritize, maybe.
Exactly. So it's not just the amount of stuff, but also how you handle it. Still, it describes that feeling of being really loaded down with things to do.
It does. It can just be a statement of fact, too.
Yeah.
I've just got a lot on my plate right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be negative, just busy.
True. Okay, next one takes us into slightly more awkward territory, perhaps. Grill someone. And we're not talking barbecue here, right?
No, definitely not burgers on the grill. So what does this grilling mean?
It means asking someone a lot of intense questions, often probing, maybe uncomfortable questions, one after another.
Like an interrogation.
It can feel like that. Kayla's classic example,
Oh.
meeting a new partner's family for the first time.
Ah, yes. The parental grilling. What are your intentions? What do you do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Exactly. Question after question. It feels like you're under a spotlight. And Kayla mentions a useful response if you feel overwhelmed. Hey, stop grilling me. It's informal, but can signal you need a break from the third degree.
Good one to have in your back pocket, potentially. It captures that feeling of intense scrutiny perfectly. Okay, switching gears a bit. Business. Investment, maybe. Double down on something. Sounds like gambling.
It does originate there, absolutely. In games like blackjack, doubling down means doubling your initial bet because you feel very confident about your hand.
You think you're going to win, so you risk more.
Precisely. And figuratively, it's the same idea. You double down on something when you increase your commitment, maybe time, money, effort in an idea, a project, a belief.
Yeah.
Usually because you strongly believe it will succeed, even if others doubt it. Or if you face setbacks.
So you're showing even more commitment because of your conviction.
Exactly. Kayla mentions Mark Zuckerberg and Meta's continued big investment in the metaverse, despite, it not taking off hugely yet and lots of skepticism. That's a high-profile example of doubling down. Companies might do it with a product they believe in, too. More marketing, more R&D.
Right. Putting more chips on that number because you really think it's going to hit. Okay, let's bring it back home. Something less high stakes. Whip up something. This sounds quick, easy.
It does. Whip up means make or create something quickly, usually without much detailed planning or effort. Effortlessly, almost.
Like whipping cream. Fast and airy.
Kind of, yeah. Kayla's examples are perfect. Whipping up a plan for the day implies it was done quickly, maybe not super detailed. Or whipping up breakfast or whipping up dinner.
Suggests it wasn't a 5-course meal that took hours.
Exactly. Speed, efficiency, maybe a bit of improvisation, using what you have on hand to make something quickly.
Like a quick brainstorm result. Got it. Okay, back to the kitchen again, but with a more dramatic, potentially messy outcome. Boil over.
Yeah, literally a pot boiling over makes a mess, right?
Yeah.
The liquid gets too hot, expands, spills everywhere.
Definitely cleans up required.
And figuratively, it describes a situation where emotions, anger, frustration, tension build up so much that they just erupt, get out of control.
Like the pot lid rattling and then whoosh.
Precisely. Kayla uses big examples, like historical tensions leading to wars, or maybe relationship issues that fester and then explode, like the Tom Brady-Giselle divorce reports she mentioned. It's that build up to a point where things can't be contained anymore.
And the result is often messy, just like the literal pot boiling over.
That's the implication, yes. Negative, chaotic outcomes often follow.
It's that point of no return. Things have escalated too far. And speaking of messes, the next phrase is literally make a mess of a situation.
Right. This has the literal meaning making a room untidy, spilling something.
Physical mess.
Yes. But figuratively, to make a mess of a situation means you handled it really badly. You created problems, complications, maybe chaos because of your actions or words.
How so?
Maybe you said the wrong thing, made bad decisions, just generally bungled it. Kayla's example of bringing up a super controversial topic at a party and starting huge arguments. That's making a mess of the social situation.
Like dropping a vase. The situation shatters. Needs careful cleanup afterwards.
Good analogy. And related to causing trouble, but maybe more deliberately, is stir the pot.
Okay, literally stirring soup. Figuratively.
Figuratively, it means intentionally bringing up sensitive or controversial topics, saying things specifically to provoke a reaction, create disagreement, maybe start an argument.
You want to cause a reaction.
Often, yes. Kayla's example is classic. bringing up divisive politics at a family holiday dinner. You know it's going to get people going.
Yeah, someone who stirs the pot is often doing it deliberately to inject drama or see what happens.
Exactly. They know they're adding an ingredient that's likely to cause friction.
Got it. Okay, shifting tone. A more positive one about resilience.
Yeah.
When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Pretty famous.
Very famous, almost universally understood. It means making the best of a bad situation.
Turning sour into sweet.
Precisely. Life gives you lemons, setbacks, difficulties, bad luck, and the advice is to take that negative stuff and actively turn it into something positive, something good, like making lemonade.
And Kayla noted you often don't even need the whole phrase, right? Just when life gives you lemons.
Yeah, it's so well known. The first part often implies the rest. Everyone gets the meaning.
It's about finding that silver lining, being proactive about adversity. Okay, next one. Kayla uses it as she's wrapping up her video. Roll out. Sounds like cars, or maybe the army.
It does have that feel of organized departure. Roll out means to leave, often as a group.
Like the Transformers. Autobots, roll out.
Exactly. Kayla mentions that. It has that slightly dramatic, planned leaving vibe, but you can use it informally too, like suggesting leaving a party with friends. Okay, time to roll out.
A bit more dynamic than just let's go.
Yeah, a bit more energetic. Okay, sticking with leaving, but this one's got more. If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen.
Ooh, that sounds confrontational.
It is. It's a strong warning. It basically means if you're not prepared to handle criticism, pressure, difficulty, the tough parts of something, then don't get involved in the first place.
Don't enter the kitchen if you can't handle the heat of the debate or the pressure.
Exactly. Kayla really calls it potentially super snarky or pretty rude. It implies you should be tough enough to handle the consequences if you choose to participate.
A blunt warning. Okay. Next, a pair about discipline, often with kids. Go hard on someone versus go soft on someone.
Right. These describe how strictly someone applies rules or enforces discipline. Go hard on someone means being very strict, firm, maybe giving significant punishments.
Like Kayla's mom being tough on her about schoolwork.
Yes, that's her example, really enforcing the rules. Conversely, go soft on someone means being lenient, permissive, not enforcing rules strictly, maybe giving lighter consequences or letting things slide.
Like Kayla admitting she sometimes goes soft on her own kids, letting them stay up late.
Exactly. It shows that spectrum from very firm to very lenient.
Makes sense. Following that, another pair about how we behave in conflict. Take the high road versus take the low road. These sound moral.
They definitely have moral weight. Take the high road means acting in a mature, ethical, honorable way, even if the other person is being petty or unfair.
Rising above it.
Essentially, yes. Kayla's example, not invited to a party, but instead of being nasty, you wish them well. That's taking the high road. Choosing integrity, kindness, not stooping to their level.
And the low road.
That's the opposite. Responding pettily, vengefully, maybe hoping the party is terrible, like in her example. It's choosing the immature, negative response.
A clear contrast in character. Choosing dignity over spite. Okay, now about giving in. Cave in. Kayla uses kids asking for cookies as an example.
Very relatable. Cave in means you yield to pressure or demands, often after initially saying no. You abandon your decision.
You said no cookie, the kid keeps asking, maybe cries, and eventually you give the cookie.
That's exactly it. You caved in. Your initial resolve crumbled under the pressure.
Happens to the best of us. And the opposite of that.
The opposite is stand firm on your decision, meaning you don't give in. You remain resolute. You stick to your original decision, your rule, despite the pressure.
So sticking with the no cookie before dinner rule or the bedtime is 7 rule, no matter how much they plead.
Exactly. Showing consistency, strength of conviction, not caving in.
Right. Okay, let's lighten the mood. Happy as a clam. Sounds old-fashioned.
It is a bit older, yeah. It just means very happy, very content. Kayla notes it's maybe used more jokingly today.
Why a clam, though?
The origin isn't totally certain, but a common idea is that clams are safest, maybe happiest, at high tide when they're buried in the sand, hidden from predators.
Safe and content. Makes sense. So just a whimsical way to say someone looks really pleased.
Pretty much. You wouldn't use it in a super formal speech, but it's charming.
Okay. And the opposite end. Feeling sad. A sad sight to see.
This describes someone who looks visibly unhappy, and often their appearance reflects it. Kayla mentions someone who looks like they haven't showered, maybe still in pajamas late in the day, just looking really down, dejected. Their outward appearance shows their inner sadness.
A gentle way to note someone's visible unhappiness.
Right.
Switching gears.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed with work or customers. Swamped. That's a great visual.
It really is like being literally stuck in a swamp, surrounded by water, hard to move. Swamped means completely overwhelmed with work, tasks, demands, no time to breathe.
Drowning in emails or customer requests.
Exactly. Kayla's analogy of being surrounded by water you can't escape captures that feeling of being inundated, struggling to keep up. Very common in busy jobs.
Feeling totally submerged.
Go.
The opposite, maybe, in terms of activity. Couch potato. Sounds critical.
It usually is. It's a derogatory term for someone lazy, spending all their time on the couch watching TV, not doing much.
So, best not to call someone that.
Definitely not. As Kayla says, it's rude. It's mostly used self-deprecatingly, like, oh, I was such a couch potato this weekend, just binged Netflix.
Right. Joking about your own laziness, but not labeling others. Got it. Moving to opportunities. A really great one. A golden opportunity.
This describes a fantastic chance, a really favorable, maybe rare moment to achieve something great. Career move, life experience, financial gain.
The golden part makes it sound precious, valuable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It emphasizes how special it is. Kayla notes these are usually opportunities you feel you just can't pass up. You have to grab them.
That unmissable chance. And the flip side, in career terms, a dead-end job.
Yeah, this is a job with no future, basically. No chance for promotion, raises, skill development, career growth. You feel stuck.
Like you're on a treadmill, going nowhere.
Exactly. Kayla talks about that feeling of needing to constantly look for other jobs to get ahead or earn more. That's the essence of being in a dead-end job. Lack of upward mobility.
A frustrating place to be. Okay. Expressing strong annoyance.
Right.
Sick and tired of it. Kayla mentions this is quite dramatic.
It is. It's very emphatic. Saying you're sick and tired of something means you are extremely annoyed, completely fed up, reached your absolute limit.
The sick and tired together really amps it up.
It does. Kayla's example of loud neighbors, I am sick and tired of this noise. It conveys intense frustration and a strong desire for it to stop.
You just had enough. Cannot take it anymore. Okay. Opposite of that weariness, eager excitement, chomping at the bit. That sounds like a horse.
It comes from that exactly. A horse impatiently biting its bit, eager to run. So chomping at the bit means you're very eager, excited, and patient to start something.
Raring to go.
Right. Kayla mentions being eager to read YouTube comments after posting a video. That feeling of keen anticipation.
Ready and waiting to jump in. Got it. How about staying calm under pressure? Cool as a cucumber. Why a cucumber?
Maybe because cucumbers are cool to the touch. Anyway, it means very calm, composed, not stressed, especially in a tough situation.
Maintaining composure.
Yes. But Kayla adds a good caution. Maybe don't use it in a really serious crisis. It could sound dismissive or inappropriate. It's better for less grave situations or admiring someone's poise, like great athletes under pressure.
Right, context is key. And the opposite of cool and calm. Wound up.
Ah, yes. Wound up means very stressed, agitated, anxious, often talking fast, full of nervous energy.
Like a wind-up toy that's been wound too tight.
Exactly, Kayla's analogy. That tight, ready to spring, maybe erratic energy, feeling tense, unable to relax.
Excess nervous energy.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Intelligence idioms. First, a positive one. Sharp as a tack.
This is a compliment. It means someone is very intelligent, mentally alert, quick-witted.
Like a sharp tack point.
That's the image, yes. Mental sharpness. Kayla mentions her great-grandmother being sharp as a tack even in her 90s. Great example of enduring mental acuity.
A nice way to say someone's really smart.
Yeah.
And the negative counterpart.
Yeah.
Dumb as a rock. Kayla flags this as offensive.
And she's absolutely right. It means very stupid, unintelligent, it's harsh, offensive, and really shouldn't be used to describe people.
Definitely unkind.
Very. Her example of a dog getting into trouble might illustrate the level of foolishness it implies, but it's a term to avoid using about humans.
Understood. Okay, approaches to tasks. Improvising. Winging it.
Winging it means doing something without much or any prior planning or preparation, relying on instinct, improvisation, maybe pretending you know what you're doing.
Flying by the seat of your pants.
Exactly. Kayla admits she sometimes wings her lessons, though it doesn't always yield the best results. It's spontaneous, sometimes necessary if you're short on time.
Faking it till you make it, sometimes. And the more deliberate approach.
That would be think it through.
Meaning
Plan carefully. Consider the situation, the consequences, all the angles before you act. It's the opposite of impulsive winging it. Kayla suggests advising someone to think it through before they act.
taking time for careful consideration. Makes sense. Now, having an issue with someone, Have a bone to pick with someone. Sounds old.
It does have an older feel. It
Yeah.
means you have a specific complaint, a grievance, something you need to discuss or settle with someone.
Like you have this bone of contention between you.
Right. Kayla recalls her mom using it about chores. I have a bone to pick with you about this laundry. It suggests a persistent issue that needs addressing, like a dog gnawing on a bone.
A colorful way to say, we need to talk about this problem. Okay. Being in agreement, on the same wavelength. Useful in business, Kayla says.
Yes, it means thinking alike, understanding each other easily, being in sync without needing long explanations.
Like your radio receivers are tuned to the same frequency.
Exactly. So in business, saying your team is on the same wavelength means you share understanding, agree on strategy. It implies smooth communication.
That nice feeling of unspoken agreement. Got it? How about can't be bothered? Kayla says this one can be positive or negative.
That's a key point. It can mean relaxed, unconcerned, not sweating the small stuff. I can't be bothered worrying about that. Easygoing.
Like it's not worth the energy.
Right. But it can also mean lazy, apathetic, not caring enough to do something you probably should. Like Kayla's example. Linda can't be bothered to submit work on time. That's negative.
So context and tone tell you if it's relaxed or irresponsible.
Absolutely crucial. Okay, working too hard, getting overtired, burning the candle at both ends. Strong image. Very. Lighting a candle at both ends means it burns down twice as fast. Right. So the idiom means working excessively, probably late nights and early mornings, getting very little rest, depleting your energy rapidly.
Recipe for burnout.
Definitely. Kayla's image of working late, then waking early captures it perfectly. Unsustainable.
Right. Doing things very fast. Going a mile a minute. Kayla found the measurement funny.
Yeah, literally it makes no sense. But idiomatically, it means doing something very, very quickly. Working fast, talking fast, moving fast.
Just conveying high speed.
Exactly. Like working a mile a minute to meet a deadline or someone talking a mile a minute so you can barely keep up. Focus is on the speed, not the literal distance.
Got it. And the opposite. Slow as molasses. Kayla warned this could be rude.
It can be. Molasses is that thick, sticky syrup that pours incredibly slowly. So the simile means extremely slow. But saying it about someone can imply impatience or criticism on your part.
Use with care.
Okay.
Strong resemblance. A spitting image.
This means someone looks exactly like someone else, an exact double, usually used for family resemblance.
Like a child being the spitting image of their parent or grandparent.
Yes. Kayla gives those examples. The resemblance is uncanny, striking.
Got it. Reaching your limit of annoyance. Fed up. Kayla used airport security as an example. Very relatable.
Very. Fed up means thoroughly annoyed, frustrated. You just can't tolerate something anymore. You've had enough.
Like with airport queues or delays, I'm just fed up with this.
Exactly. It expresses that feeling of being completely weary of the situation.
Right. Time to start something. Let's get this show on the road.
This is an enthusiastic way to say, let's begin. Let's start the activity, the meeting, the project, the trip.
Like starting a performance.
Yeah. Kayla suggests using it for meetings or events. Her airport example is funny because you wish you could get the show on the road, but you're stuck waiting. It's a call to action.
A positive signal to begin.
Okay.
Taking a risk, maybe hoping luck holds out. Pushing your luck.
This means continuing to take risks, often after some initial success or a near miss, hoping your good fortune continues.
Tempting fate a bit too much.
Kind of. Kayla's example of criminals continuing after close calls highlights the danger. There's a sense you might be going too far, that luck will run out.
Don't push it too far. Okay.
Yeah.
A difficult task. A tall order.
This means a really difficult request or task, something that will require a lot of effort, skill, or time. It sounds daunting.
Like Kayla's example. Finishing a 2,000-word essay overnight.
Definitely a tall order. Sounds overwhelming, maybe almost impossible.
I can feel the panic.
Okay.
Refreshing an old skill. Brush up on something.
This means reviewing or relearning something you used to know or do well, but you've gotten rusty from lack of practice.
Like dusting off the cobwebs.
Exactly. Kayla mentions brushing up on her soccer skills after years away from the game. It's about regaining that familiarity.
Right. Stopping something decisively, put an end to it. Sounds final.
It often is. It means stopping something completely, terminating it.
Yeah.
Often used for things that need a definitive stop.
Like a hero putting an end to the villain's evil plans in a movie.
Perfect example. Or one team's win putting an end to another season. It implies finality.
Bringing things to a conclusion.
Okay.
Evoking strong feelings. Stir up an emotion, a crowd.
Stir up an emotion means bringing forth a feeling in someone, often strongly. Stir up a crowd means exciting or agitating a group of people.
Like Kayla's example of war images stirring up sadness or anger.
Exactly. It's about creating that strong emotional response.
And when something resonates deeply, strike a chord. Can be good or bad, Kayla said.
Yes, that's important. It means evoking an emotional response because it connects with someone's personal experiences, beliefs, or feelings. It can be a positive connection, like empathy, or negative, reminding them of something painful.
It hits home somehow.
Precisely. It resonates. Okay, starting a conversation spontaneously. Strike up a conversation. This means just starting a friendly, informal chat with someone, often someone you don't know well, or even a stranger.
Like talking to someone in a queue, or maybe your boss in the break room.
Yeah, Kayla suggests those scenarios. It's about initiating that casual interaction.
Taking the first step to chat. And similarly, starting a friendship. Strike up a friendship.
This means beginning a friendship, maybe unexpectedly. Kayla mentions making friends easily, and college friendships just struck up.
That spontaneous beginning of a connection. Got it. Maintaining contact. Keep in touch. Simple, but maybe not always easy.
Right. It just means stay in contact, calls, texts, emails, but as Kayla admits, it takes conscious effort sometimes, especially when life gets busy.
Making the effort to stay connected. Okay. Falling down. Take a spill. Sounds a bit more serious than just tripping.
It often implies a more significant fall. Yeah. Maybe a bit clumsy, sudden, and potentially resulting in an injury. Kayla mentioned her podcast about breaking her arm after taking a spill.
So more than just a stumble.
Okay.
Getting rid of a bad habit. Kick a habit.
This means successfully stopping a habitual behavior, especially a negative or difficult one.
Like quitting smoking, or Kayla's example of trying to stop biting your nails.
Exactly. It implies effort, overcoming something ingrained. She used manicures to help her kick the habit.
Breaking free. Okay.
Yeah.
When it's someone else's turn to act, the ball is in your court. Very common.
Very. Comes from sports like tennis. It means the responsibility for the next action or decision rests with the other person.
Like after a job interview, you've done your part.
And the ball is in the company's court. They need to make the next move. Contact you. You're waiting on them.
Clear shift of responsibility.
Yeah.
Got it. Knowing something extremely well. Know it inside and out.
This means having a complete, deep, thorough understanding, every detail, every nuance, total mastery.
Like Kayla's example of a great driver, knowing all the traffic rules inside and out.
Perfect. Total familiarity and expertise.
Okay. Avoiding something due to nerves. Shy away from it.
This means avoiding something because you're nervous, lack confidence, maybe fearful. Kayla gave contrasting examples, the Kardashians not shying away from paparazzi versus someone shying away from sugary drinks for health, a more positive avoidance.
So the motivation can vary, but it's about avoidance due to discomfort or reluctance.
Exactly. Okay, another one for starting something. Get the ball rolling. Similar to get the show on the road. Very similar. It means initiating an activity, starting a process, taking the first step to get things moving.
Like Kayla deciding it's time to get the ball rolling on making dinner.
Right. Moving from thinking to doing.
Got it. Giving up when things get too tough. Throw in the towel comes from boxing.
Yes. Literally, the corner throws a towel into the ring to signal their fighter can't continue, they surrender. So the idiom means quitting, admitting defeat, conceding you can't go on.
A clear signal of giving up. Okay? Making someone happy. Makes someone's day.
This means doing something kind or positive that significantly brightens someone's day, makes them happy. Often implies their day was ordinary or maybe not great before that.
Like a small gesture having a big impact. And Kayla mentioned variations.
Yeah, make my week, make my year, even make my life. Just amplifying the positive impact.
A lovely idiom. Okay. Thinking someone is perfect. Putting them on a pedestal. Kayla advised against this.
Good advice. It means admiring someone so much you think they're flawless, incapable of error. Idealizing them.
Like people do with celebrities or politicians sometimes.
Exactly, but it sets up unrealistic expectations and disappointment because nobody's perfect.
Right. Avoid the pedestal. Starting something too early. Jump the gun.
This means starting before the proper time, before you're supposed to, maybe before preparations are complete.
Like the starting gun in a race, you go before it fires. Kayla's example of early Christmas decorations.
Perfect. Putting them up in October is definitely jumping the gun on the holiday season. Acting too soon.
Got it. Expressing surprise at connections. It's a small world. Small world.
Yeah, used when you discover unexpected links between people or places. It expresses that feeling of surprise at how interconnected things are.
Like running into your neighbor on holiday far away, or meeting someone who knows your cousin overseas.
Those are Kayla's examples, and they're classic small world moments. Highlights surprising coincidences.
Okay. Being totally obsessed with something. Eat, sleep, and breathe something.
This means being completely immersed and passionate about one particular thing, a hobby, a job, an interest. It consumes all your time and energy.
Like Kayla's example of an artist totally dedicated to painting.
Exactly. It's their whole focus, almost to the exclusion of everything else. Total immersion.
Intense dedication. Got it. Missing an opportunity because you were too slow. Missed the boat. The ship has sailed.
Both mean the same thing. It's too late. The opportunity has passed, the window has closed. You were too slow to act.
Like regretting not investing in Bitcoin or Apple early on.
Kayla's examples, yes. That feeling of, if only I'd acted sooner, the chance is gone.
A feeling of regret for inaction.
Yeah.
Okay. Working late into the night. Burning the midnight oil.
This means studying or working late, often sacrificing sleep. Comes from a time before electricity when people used oil lamps.
Like students cramming for exams.
Exactly. Kayla's example. Putting in those late hours to get work done.
Got it. Asking an expert lots of questions. Pick someone's brain.
This means asking someone knowledgeable many questions to learn from them, get information, insights, advice.
Like Kayla offering students to pick her brain about English.
Right. It's about tapping into their expertise, leveraging their knowledge.
A good way to learn. Okay. Starting off badly with someone. Get off on the wrong foot.
This means having a bad first impression or interaction, making it harder to build a good relationship later.
Like starting a dance with the wrong step, as Kayla analogized. Out of sync from the beginning.
Good analogy, yeah. But Kayla also suggested acknowledging it could be a chance to reset and try for a better connection.
Turning a bad start around. Okay. When plans are uncertain, up in the air.
Simple one. Means plans aren't finalized, things are undecided, unresolved.
Like Kayla not being sure about weekend plans.
Exactly. Everything is still pending, not concrete.
Okay. Being skeptical about something. Take it with a grain of salt.
This means don't believe it completely. Be skeptical. Maybe the source is biased, unreliable, or it's just an opinion, not fact.
Like Kayla's opinion on red being out of style. Take it with a grain of salt. It's just her view.
Exactly. It's a disclaimer. Don't treat this as absolute truth.
A healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah.
Got it. Losing focus, drifting off, zone out.
This means stop paying attention. Let your mind wander. You're physically present, but mentally checked out.
Like kids watching TV passively, as Kayla mentioned.
Yeah, staring blankly, not really processing, mentally drifting.
Okay. Traits shared in the family. Runs in the family.
Means a characteristic, trait, or even medical condition is common among relatives, often implying a genetic link.
Like stubbornness or brown eyes in Kayla's examples.
Exactly. Things passed down are commonly shared within the family.
Inherited traits. Got it. Someone supportive in sad times. A good shoulder to cry on.
This refers to someone empathetic, a good listener, who provides comfort when someone is upset or grieving.
Someone you can turn to for support when you're down. Like offering support after a death, as Kayla suggested.
Precisely. Providing that emotional comfort and listening ear.
A valuable friend to have. Okay. Making peace after an argument. Bury the hatchet. Figurative weapon.
Yes. No real hatchet involved. It means ending a conflict, making peace, reconciling after a period of disagreement or hostility, letting go of past grievances.
Putting the conflict behind you. And the opposite, ruining a relationship. Burn bridges. Kayla warned against this strongly.
Yes, because it means damaging a relationship so badly it's almost impossible to repair. Cutting off connections permanently. Her advice not to do it is sound. It has lasting negative consequences.
Avoid burning those bridges. Got it. Feeling slightly sick. Under the weather.
Very common, mild way to say you're not feeling well. Slightly ill, maybe a cold, just generally unwell.
Like having a cold or recovering from flu, as Kayla mentioned.
Exactly. Not seriously ill, just off.
A gentle way to say you're unwell. Okay. Getting sidetracked in conversation. Off track, off the rails.
And returning.
Get back on track. Get on the rails.
Right. Off track or off the rails means the conversation or project has strayed from the main point. Digressing, get back on track or on the rails means returning to the main topic or plan.
Like in a meeting that goes off on tangents, you need to get everyone back on track.
Exactly. Kayla's example. Bringing the focus back.
Okay. Getting angry and upset. Bent out of shape, like a paperclip.
Yeah, Kayla's analogy. A paperclip is normally straight, but if it gets bent, it's distorted. So someone bent out of shape is emotionally distorted, angry, upset, having a bad attitude, often excessively so.
Overreacting, maybe. Got it. Fulfilling your purpose. A date with destiny. Sounds dramatic.
It is dramatic. It suggests you're doing what you were meant to do, heading towards a significant, perhaps predetermined positive outcome, fulfilling your potential.
A pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Bringing someone up to date. Get you up to speed.
Means giving someone the latest information, updates, so they're fully informed about the current situation.
Like briefing a new team member on sales figures or tech updates.
Yes, Kayla's examples, making sure they have the current context.
Bringing them into the loop.
Got it.
Something being developed in the pipeline, like oil.
Yeah, the analogy is something moving through a pipeline towards completion. It means something is being worked on, developed, planned, and coming soon, but not ready yet.
Progressing towards release. Okay. Stopping something, often abruptly. Pull the plug on it. Literal plug.
Comes from literally pulling the power plug on a machine. So it means stopping something decisively, often abruptly, especially a failing project or venture. Can be harsh. Final.
Cutting it off. Got it. Learning a skill gradually. Get the hang of it.
Means gradually learning how to do something well, becoming proficient through practice, understanding how it works.
Like learning English, as Kayla said.
Yeah.
You slowly get the hang of grammar or pronunciation.
Exactly. That gradual process of acquiring the skill.
Right. Signaling understanding. You get the picture.
Means you understand the general idea, right? I don't need to explain every detail. Kayla notes it's common on the phone, maybe for brevity.
Enough said, basically. Okay. Informal credit for good deeds. Brownie points. Like Girl Scout brownies.
Maybe related. It means gaining informal favor or approval for doing something good or helpful, even if there's no tangible reward.
Like finishing work early earns brownie points with the boss.
Kayla's example, yes. Gaining that unofficial positive regard.
Informal kudos. Okay. Being responsible versus not. On the hook for something off the hook.
On the hook means you're responsible, accountable, maybe for a mistake or debt. Off the hook means you're no longer responsible, forgiven, or someone else took over.
Like Kayla's email mistake example, initially on the hook, then a colleague helps, you're off the hook.
Clearly shows the contrast. Responsibility versus relief.
Got it. Compromising. Meet me halfway.
Means finding a middle ground. Both sides make concessions to reach an agreement acceptable to both.
Like bargaining on a price. Or asking a coworker for help but offering something in return.
Yes, Kayla's examples. Mutual compromise.
Finding that middle ground. Okay. Being deceived in a purchase. Sold a bill of goods. Sounds negative.
It is very negative. Means you were tricked or misled into buying or accepting something worthless or faulty. Implies deliberate deception.
Being conned. Got it. Tentative scheduling. Pencil you in.
Means scheduling something briefly, tentatively, often squeezing it into a busy schedule. Implies it might change. It's not set in stone.
A maybe appointment. Okay. Doing calculations. Crunch the numbers.
Means performing calculations, especially with financial data or large data sets. Analyzing figures to make decisions. Common in math and business.
Doing the math work. Okay. A motivated person. Self-starter. Good for interviews.
Very good. Kayla advises using it. A self-starter is proactive, takes initiative, doesn't need constant supervision. Highly valued trait.
Motivated and independent. Got it. Unfairly changing goals. Move the goalpost.
Means changing the rules or requirements for success after someone has already worked towards or met the original goal. It feels unfair.
Like reaching a fails target, then having the target increased.
Exactly, Kayla's frustrating example. Shifting the criteria unfairly.
Unfair play. Okay. Profitable item. Cash cow.
Yeah.
Not rude for products.
Generally not rude for products or business aspects, as Kayla notes. It's something that consistently generates a lot of profit reliably, often without needing much new investment.
A dependable moneymaker. Okay. Being current. Up to date.
Simple. Means current, having the latest information or version.
Informed current. Okay. Short break. Take 5.
Informal way to say take a short break. Usually about 5 minutes.
Quick pause. Okay. Generating business. Drum up some business customer sales. Odd phrase.
A little odd, as Kayla says, but common. Means actively trying to find, attract, or generate new business or clients.
Actively seeking new opportunities. Asking an expert again. Pick their brain. We covered this.
Yes. Asking a knowledgeable person questions to learn from them. Reinforcing that one.
Good. Time constraints. Running short on time. Okay on time. Good on time.
Straightforward. Running short. Not enough time. Okay? Or good on time. Sufficient time available.
Right.
Basic time check phrases.
Got it. Resistant to change. Set in your ways. Stubborn.
Can mean stubborn, yes. Resistant to new ideas or changes, preferring established habits. Kayla adds nuance, distinguishing it from just having strong, considered beliefs, but generally implies inflexibility.
Preferring the familiar.
Okay.
Saying something is far superior. Does not hold a candle to it.
Strong idiom. Means the thing being discussed is vastly better than anything compared to it. The others aren't even close.
Like Kayla's examples. RDJ is Iron Man or Starbucks is dominance. Nothing else compares.
Right. Unparalleled superiority. In a league of its own.
Okay. Casual chat. Shoot the breeze.
Means having a relaxed, informal conversation about unimportant things. Small talk, just passing the time, chatting casually.
Easygoing talk. Got it. Recovering from disaster. Rise from the ashes. Like a phoenix.
Exactly like a phoenix. It means recovering, becoming successful again after a major setback, failure, or disaster. Kayla's analogy of rebuilding after a house fire captures the resilience.
Overcoming great adversity. Powerful. Keeping secrets. Mum's the word.
Common idiom meaning keep the secret, don't tell anyone. Kayla's fun addition, zip your lips and mum's the word, just emphasizes it more.
Stay silent. Okay.
Yeah.
Taking a risk. Maybe unsupported. Go out on a limb.
Means taking a chance, saying or doing something different, potentially without support, putting yourself in a vulnerable position.
Like making a guess or applying for a really ambitious job.
Kayla's examples, yes. Risking being wrong or facing a challenge alone.
Sticking your neck out. Got it. Last minute decision. A game time decision.
Means delaying a decision until the very last moment, often due to uncertainty. Comes from sports, deciding if an injured player will play right before the game starts.
It's like choosing your outfit right before leaving.
Kayla used that personal example too, deciding at the 11th hour.
Okay. Revealing embarrassing secrets. Air out your dirty laundry.
Vivid idiom. Means revealing private, shameful, or embarrassing problems or secrets publicly, often negative.
Making private scandals public knowledge. Got it. Being ahead of trends. Ahead of the curve. Ahead of the game.
Means being innovative, progressive, doing things earlier or more advanced than most others. Being a trendsetter.
Like women's rights advocacy early on, or Apple's tech.
Kayla's diverse examples, yes. Being forward-thinking.
Reading the pack. Okay. Making lots of money. Made a killing.
Means making a very large amount of money, often quickly or easily from a successful venture.
Like Apple making a killing from iPhones.
Perfect example Kayla gave. Huge financial success.
Big profits. Got it. Finally, being too close. Up in your grill. Informal, negative.
Yes, informal and usually negative. Means someone is invading your personal space, getting too close physically, often in an annoying or confrontational way.
Uncomfortably close.
Exactly. Kayla mentioned how we became more aware of this during the pandemic. It's about that unwanted proximity.
Well, that brings us to the end of Kayla's list. Wow, that was quite the journey through 111 phrases.
It certainly was a real deep dive into the nuances of everyday and not so everyday English expressions.
And hopefully for you listening, for the learner, this exploration felt thorough but, manageable.
Yeah.
Hopefully you had some of those aha moments we talked about. It really is amazing how these phrases pop up from cooking, sports, history.
It truly is. And understanding them, really getting them, doesn't just help you comprehend English better when you hear it.
Right, it helps you speak more naturally, too.
Exactly, more expressively, more confidently. So maybe take a second now to think. Which of these phrases really stood out to you? Which ones could you see yourself actually using?
And maybe thinking about where they came from, the cooking ones, the sports ones. Does that help make them stick in your mind? That's something to ponder, perhaps. How does knowing the origin story of an idiom affect how you remember and use it?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with. Does that backstory, that metaphor, give it more depth, make it more memorable?
Something to think about. Hey, you, and welcome back. We're doing another deep dive today.
Yes, we are.
And if you're trying to get your English skills up to speed, effectively, but also without it taking forever.
Which is what everyone wants, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you're definitely in the right place today. Before we jump in, though, if you like getting this kind of focused info, please do hit subscribe. It really helps us out.
It does indeed.
So today's big question, the one we hear all the time, how do you actually learn English fast? And crucially, make it stick.
Yeah, make it last. And for this, we've really cast the net wide. We looked at stuff from English learning sites like English Path, Wizard Idiomas, Maro Vgara's approach, and then blog posts too from places like Rockefeller, EF Jugo blog, Reply, Jonas Brisson. Even dove into a Reddit thread to see what real learners are saying.
Wow, okay, so a lot of ground covered there.
Definitely. And our mission today is basically to sift through all that, find the best, most practical bits.
The gold nuggets.
Exactly. And give you, our listeners, some solid steps you can actually use, like starting right now, to speed things up.
Okay, fantastic. Let's get right into it then. One thing that just screamed out from pretty much everywhere was consistency. Regular practice.
Absolutely. It's not about, these heroic all-day study sessions that just burn you out.
Right, which never last anyway.
Precisely. It's about weaving English into your daily fabric, making it a normal part of your day, every day.
And it doesn't have to be hours, does it? I saw something, I think it was a Rockefeller blog, mentioning even 15 minutes.
Spot on. Yeah, they highlighted that just 15 minutes of focused daily practice can actually be way better for remembering things long-term than, say, a 3-hour block once a week.
That's fascinating. Why is that, do you think?
Well, the idea is your brain needs time to process and sort of consolidate the new information. Little and often seems to work better for that. Like dripping water fills a bucket faster than one big splash that mostly spills out.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And that connects to what people were saying on Reddit too, wasn't it? About language being like a tool or a skill.
Yeah. Yeah, someone made a really good point there. It's like playing an instrument or a sport. If you don't practice regularly, you get rusty. You got to keep using it.
So it's about building a habit. I think Maro Vgara used that exact word, habit.
He did. And that shifts the focus, doesn't it? It's less about forcing yourself with sheer willpower for these intense sessions.
Which is exhausting.
And more about just making it automatic, part of your routine. Think about those tiny changes you can make.
Like what specifically?
Well, switching your phone's language to English, your computer too.
Oh, yeah, I did that. It was weird for like a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you get used to it. Or choosing English music or podcasts when you're commuting or doing chores.
Right. Things you're doing anyway?
Precisely. These little things, these micro-engagements, they might feel tiny on their own.
Insignificant almost.
Yeah, but they build up. They create this constant low-level immersion. And over weeks, over months, it makes a huge difference.
It's like creating your own little English bubble, even if you're not living abroad.
That's a perfect way to put it. And, Maro Vgara mentioned passive learning just by switching your music.
Passive learning.
Yeah.
Does that really work? Just
Sure.
having it on?
Well, it's not magic, obviously. But English Path pointed out that it does more than just maybe teach you a few words. You start absorbing the rhythm, the intonation.
The sound of the language.
Yeah, the flow, and cultural bits too sometimes. So even when you're just chilling out listening to tunes, your brain is still kind of subconsciously picking things up, making connections.
Okay, that's encouraging. Small steps add up. Now here's something that really caught my eye, and it kind of flips the script on how we usually think about learning.
Oh, what's that?
This idea of input before output. Maro Vgara was really strong on this. What exactly does that mean?
Ah, yes. That's a really core principle in a lot of modern language acquisition thinking. Basically, it means focusing heavily on understanding, getting lots of listening and reading practice in before you put a huge amount of pressure on yourself to speak and write perfectly.
So soak it all in first.
Pretty much. He uses a great analogy. Think about how kids learn their first language.
Yeah.
They spend years just listening, hearing parents, siblings, the TV, everything around them. They understand a massive amount long before they start talking in complex sentences.
That's so true. My nephew understood everything for ages before he really started chatting properly.
Exactly. They're building this huge internal library of sounds, words, how sentences fit together, all based on input.
A mental blueprint, like you said.
Precisely. So by prioritizing what's called comprehensible input.
Comprehensible meaning.
Yeah.
Stuff you mostly understand.
Yeah, English that you can get the gist of, even if you don't know every single word. By getting lots of that, you're building that same kind of internal blueprint. Your brain starts recognizing patterns, figuring out grammar subconsciously, absorbing words and context.
Without you having to memorize lists of rules necessarily.
Right. It's like assembling all the parts of an engine before you try and start the car and drive off. You need the components first.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And that's quite different from some, let's say, older methods, maybe, where they push you to speak from day one, even if you're completely lost.
Yeah, exactly. The argument against that, which Maro Vgara makes, is that pushing output speaking, writing too early, before you've had enough input, it can lead to real frustration. You stumble, you make mistakes, not because you're careless, but because you haven't actually absorbed the correct patterns yet.
And you might end up practicing those mistakes.
Potentially, yeah. It can cement errors. It's like trying to build that house you mentioned earlier, but you only have half the bricks you need. You can try, but the result might be a bit shaky.
Okay, got it. So, lesson 1. Become an English sponge. Listen, read, absorb. Let's dive deeper into listening then. How do we get really good at understanding spoken English?
Well, the consensus, especially for Maro Vgara in English Path, is just massive amounts of listening, lots and lots of it. But crucially, listening to stuff you can mostly understand.
That comprehensible input again.
Exactly. Maro Vgara even suggests aiming for maybe 50% comprehension or more to start with. You don't need 100%.
That's a relief, because aiming for 100% right away is just intimidating.
Totally. The context helps fill the gaps, and your brain gradually gets better at tuning in, recognizing sounds, predicting what comes next. It's a process.
So, volume and comprehensibility. What about how we listen? Just have it on, or?
English Path really stresses active listening.
Active, meaning?
Meaning you're actually focusing, paying attention, trying to pick out keywords, maybe guessing the meaning of unfamiliar ones from the context, asking yourself little questions about what you're hearing.
So engaging your brain, not just letting it wash over you.
Right. And they also had a cool tip. Practice listening in different environments, not just in perfect silence.
Oh, like with background noise.
Yeah. Try listening on the bus or with the TV on low in the background or in a cafe. It trains your ear to filter out distractions, which is a super important real-world skill.
That's brilliant, because real life is rarely silent. Okay, now, Maro Vgara laid out a very specific technique for improving listening using texts and audio together. Can you walk us through that? It sounded really interesting.
Yeah, it's a really solid, structured method. He breaks it down into 3 clear steps. Step 1 is study the text.
Okay, study the text first. What does that involve?
It means taking the written version of the audio, the transcript, and really digging into it, reading it carefully, making sure you understand everything.
Everything. Like every word.
Ideally, yeah. Look up words you don't know. Use a dictionary, maybe check a translation if you need to for tricky bits. Understand the grammar in the sentences. The goal here is to remove all barriers to understanding the written form first. Make sure you know what it says on paper.
Right, so you're building that base understanding of the content and language before you even hit play on the audio.
Exactly, you're prepping your brain. Then comes step 2.
Which is?
Listen and read simultaneously. So now you play the audio recording while you read the transcript at the same time.
Ah, okay, so seeing and hearing together.
Precisely. And this is super powerful because it directly connects the written words you now understand to how they actually sound.
Right. The pronunciation, the rhythm.
The intonation, how words link together in natural speech. All of it. You're mapping the sounds onto the text in real time. It bridges that gap between reading English and hearing English.
I can totally see how that would help. That disconnect is huge for a lot of learners.
Okay, so study text, listen and read. What's the final step? The final step is just training. Now, you put the text away, you just listen to the audio recording on its own.
Oh, okay. The final test.
Kind of. But because you've done the prep work, you've studied the text, you've linked it to the sound, your brain is now much better prepared to just focus on the audio and understand it directly.
Makes sense. You've primed the pump.
Exactly. And he strongly recommends listening multiple times like this, just the audio. Each time you listen, try to understand a little more, catch a few more details.
That sounds like a really methodical, effective loop.
Yeah.
Study, connect, train, repeat.
It really is. It builds comprehension systematically.
So where do people find this kind of material? Text with matching audio by native speakers.
Good question. He suggests that textbooks from traditional English courses are often a goldmine for this. They usually have dialogues and readings with accompanying CDs or audio files.
Right. Those course books always have audio.
Yeah. And even if you don't have a full course book, maybe you have some other learning materials, exercises, examples, anything that provides both the written English and a native speaker recording of it. He basically says, gather everything you can find like that. Compile your own library of these text-audio pairs.
Become a resource detective. Okay, that's practical. So that covers building listening skills. Let's switch gears to another huge area, vocabulary. How do we effectively grow our word bank?
Well, a big theme, especially from English Path, is making it enjoyable. They really push reading about things you're actually interested in.
So following your passions.
Exactly. If you love cooking, read recipes or food blogs in English. If you're into tech, read tech news. That natural interest keeps you motivated, makes it less of a chore.
That makes total sense. You're more likely to stick with it.
For sure. They also suggest starting small. Don't jump into like a massive novel straight away if you're not ready. Read shorter articles, blog posts. Build your confidence first.
Gradual steps. What about dealing with all the new words you encounter? Just look everything up.
Not necessarily. English Path recommends trying to be a bit of a detective first. Use the context, the words and sentences around the new word to try and guess the meaning.
Inferring meaning. That's a skill in itself.
It is, and a very useful one. They also suggest keeping a reading journal.
A journal? For what?
To jot down new words you find interesting or important. Maybe write the sentence you found it in, your guess at the meaning, and maybe the actual definition later. It helps you track what you're learning and gives you something to review.
Okay, like a personalized dictionary you're building?
Sort of, yeah. And another great tip they had was reading aloud.
Reading aloud. How does that help with vocabulary?
Well, it does a couple of things. Obviously, it helps with pronunciation practice, which is great, but it also engages your brain differently. Saying the words reinforces them in your memory in a different way than just seeing them.
Combining skills. Reading, speaking, vocab all at once. Smart.
And related to reading, the Reddit discussion brought up reading things you already know.
Like rereading a favorite book, but in English.
Exactly. Or reading articles about topics you're already an expert on in your own language. Because you already understand the concepts, it's easier to focus on the language itself and pick up the specific English vocabulary for that topic.
That's clever. Using your existing knowledge as a scaffold. Okay, so reading is key for vocab. Now, the big one for many people.
Yeah.
Speaking. How does all this input we've talked about connect to actually talking?
There's a very strong connection, according to Maro Vgara and Jonas Bresson. They argue that good listening comprehension is really the bedrock for speaking fluently.
How so?
The logic is, if you understand spoken English well, it means you've already absorbed a huge amount of vocabulary, correct grammar, natural sentence structures, common phrases, all through listening.
So the knowledge is already in there somewhere.
Kind of, yeah. When it's time to speak, it's often more about accessing and activating that knowledge you've passively absorbed, rather than learning something totally new from scratch.
That's a really encouraging way to think about it. It takes some pressure off just practicing speaking. So if the knowledge is sort of there, what stops people from speaking?
The usual suspects. Shyness is a big one. And the massive fear of making mistakes. Both Maro Vgara and Rockefeller mentioned this.
That fear is paralyzing for so many learners.
It really is. But almost all our sources, English Path, Rockefeller, the Reddit users, had the same message. Mistakes are normal. They're not just normal, they're essential. It's how you learn.
You can't learn to ride a bike without falling off a few times.
Exactly. And the Reddit thread was really comforting on this. Lots of people shared experiences saying, look, most native speakers are patient. They appreciate you making the effort. They'll usually try to understand you, even if your grammar isn't perfect.
That's so important to hear. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. It's okay.
Absolutely. It's a learning process, not a performance.
So how do we actively practice speaking then? How do we take that step?
Find someone to talk to. That's the big recommendation from Maro Vgara and Jonas Bresson. Get a conversation partner.
Okay. What kind of partner?
Could be different things. Maybe a language exchange partner, someone learning your language who wants to practice with you. Preply mentioned platforms like Busuu for finding people like that.
So a mutual exchange.
Yeah. Or you could connect with a native English speaker, maybe a tutor, a teacher, or even just a patient friend who speaks English fluently.
And when you have these conversations, what should the focus be? Perfect grammar.
Not necessarily, especially at first. Jonas Bresson really emphasizes focusing on communication, just getting your message across.
Using whatever tools you have.
Exactly. Use simple words, rephrase things, maybe even gesture if you need to. Don't let the pursuit of perfection stop you from actually communicating.
Yeah, makes sense. Communication over perfection. Should you ask for corrections?
Maro Vgara suggests yes, but maybe be strategic about it. Ask your partner to point out maybe the really big errors or mistakes you keep making repeatedly, rather than correcting every tiny little thing, which can kill the flow.
Good point. Focus on the patterns.
Yeah. The main thing, as Jonas Bresson and Rockefeller both stress, is just doing it consistently. The more you practice speaking, the more fluent you become, and the more your confidence grows. It's a positive cycle.
Practice, communicate, build confidence. Got it. Okay, let's round out the 4 skills with writing. Where does that fit in?
Well, Maro Vgara points out that writing is often the last of the 4 main skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing, that people really master.
Why is that?
Probably because it requires a bit more conscious effort, maybe. You have to be more deliberate about grammar, spelling, sentence structure. It builds on the reading and listening you've done.
And accuracy seems more important in writing sometimes.
It often is, yeah. There's less room for ambiguity than in speech sometimes.
So what are the key things we should be doing to improve our English writing?
Maro Vgara boils it down to 3 basic activities. First, read a lot, but pay attention to how things are written.
Like sentence structure, word choice.
Exactly. Notice how good writers organize their ideas, how they connect sentences. Second, just write regularly.
Practice makes perfect.
Well, practice makes progress. Even short things help. Emails, journal entries. English Path suggested using writing prompts if you're stuck for ideas. Just get words on the page.
Okay, read and observe, write regularly. What's the third?
Get feedback. This is crucial. Have someone you trust, a teacher, a native speaker friend, maybe use a tool, look at your writing and give you constructive criticism.
So you know where you need to improve.
Precisely. It's that loop again. Input, reading, output, writing, feedback, refine.
Makes sense. Are there any specific, actionable tips for making our writing better?
Yeah, Maro Vgara listed several good ones. Keep working on your vocabulary. More words give you more options. Pay attention to spelling seriously. Use a dictionary or spell checker.
The basics.
Absolutely. Focus on writing clear, concise sentences. Don't try to be too complicated if you don't need to be. Organize your ideas logically before you start writing, maybe with an outline.
Planning helps.
Definitely. And always review and revise your work. Don't just send off the first draft. Read it through, look for errors, ways to improve clarity.
And he had that tip about letting it rest.
Yes, that's a great one. Finish writing, then step away for a few hours or even a day. When you come back to it with fresh eyes, you'll spot things you missed completely when you were immersed in it.
That's such a good practical tip for any kind of writing.
Yeah.
Okay, great advice on the 4 core skills. Now let's talk tech. How can technology help us speed up this whole process?
Tech is huge. And one tool that Maro Vgara and, frankly, many language learning experts really champion is SRS-based repetition system.
SRS, right. I've heard of that. It's like smart flashcards, isn't it? It just show you things just before you forget them.
Exactly. It uses an algorithm to figure out the optimal time to show you a piece of information again to maximize long-term memory. It's incredibly efficient for memorizing vocabulary and phrases.
And which SRS tool is recommended?
Maro Vgara specifically recommends Anki, A-N-K-I. It's free, it's powerful, it's available on pretty much everything.
Okay, Anki.
Yeah.
How do we get started with it? Is it complicated?
Not really. First, you download and install it. The website is easy to find. Just search Anki SRS. He suggests installing the English version, as most guides and tutorials online will use the English terms.
Okay, download, install in English, then what?
Then you open it up and create a deck. Think of a deck like a category or a subject, so you might create one called My English Vocab or something.
Just one main deck for English?
You could start that way or have different decks for different things later, but one main one is fine. Then inside that deck you add cards.
Flashcards.
Virtual flashcards, yeah. Each card has a front and a back. On the front, you put the thing you want to learn, usually an English word or phrase, in context.
In context, not just the word itself.
Preferably in context, yeah, like in a sentence. It helps you learn how it's actually used.
Yeah.
And then on the back, you put the explanation or the translation or whatever helps you understand the front.
Can you give an example? Like, how would a card look?
Sure. Maro Vgara gave a good one. Front. The book is on the bookshelf. Back. Bookshelf estante para livros, meaning bookshelf in Portuguese, plus the translated sentence for clarity.
Ah, okay, so the English sentence, then the key words, meaning, and maybe the full translation.
Exactly. Or another example for an idiom, front. That idea didn't work, so we're back to square one. Back to square one, back to the beginning. The idea failed, so we have to start over. Using an English explanation there.
Got it. So you build up your deck with these contextualized cards. How does the studying part work in Anki?
It's pretty straightforward. You open your deck to study. Anki shows you the front of a card. You try to remember the meaning or translation on the back. Then you click to reveal the back. You compare it with your answer. Then, and this is the key part, you tell Anki how well you remembered it. They're usually buttons like, again, if you forgot, hard, good, or easy.
And Anki uses that feedback.
Precisely. Based on your answer, its algorithm schedules the next time you'll see that card. If you found it easy, it might be days or weeks away. If you clicked again, you'll see it very soon. This spacing is what makes it so effective for long-term memory.
Wow, okay. That sounds really powerful. Does it matter where we get the sentences for these cards?
Yes, that's a really important point Maro Vgara makes. Use reliable sources.
Yeah.
Don't just invent sentences if you're not sure they're natural or grammatically correct.
Right. Don't want to memorize mistakes. So where should we get good example sentences?
He suggests a few places. His own website, actually, marovgara.com, has tons of articles with example sentences, often with translations and audio. Good online dictionaries often provide example sentences too. He mentioned Michaelis Online as one example for Portuguese speakers, but reputable dictionaries in general are great. Even basic example sentences from grammar books or beginner materials are useful for nailing down core vocabulary and structures.
So leverage existing quality materials.
Exactly. And for more advanced learners, he mentioned you could even create English-to-English cards. So the front is the English phrase, and the back is an English definition or synonym.
Moving away from translation entirely.
Yeah.
Okay, Anki sounds like a must-try tool. What about other apps? Pripy listed quite a few. Duolingo, Busuu.
Yeah, there are loads out there, aren't there? Duolingo, Lingodeer, Busuu, Fluent2, Hello English, Bilinguep, Grammarly for writing, Tandem for finding partners.
Are they useful? What's the verdict?
The general feeling seems to be that yes, they can be useful, but usually as part of a broader learning strategy, not necessarily as your only method.
So, supplements rather than the main course.
Often, yeah. Different apps are good for different things. Busuu might be good for practicing basic phrases or finding an exchange partner. Grammarly is obviously fantastic for checking your writing. FluentU uses real videos, which could be great for intermediate advanced listening and vocab.
So it's about choosing the right tool for the specific skill you want to work on.
Exactly. And combining them with other methods like the extensive reading and listening we talked about, and maybe using Anki for focused vocabulary practice. They're tools in the toolbox, not the whole workshop.
Good analogy.
Okay.
So we've got strategies, we've got tools. What about things to avoid? Common mistakes people make.
Yes. The pitfalls. The Rockefeller blog had a really good list, actually. 10 common errors.
10. Okay, let's hear them. What should we watch out for?
Okay, number 1, not practicing regularly. We covered that consistency is king.
Right.
2, focusing only on grammar, ignoring the other skills.
The grammar nerd trap.
Kind of. 3, fear of making mistakes. That big one again. 4, translating literally from your native language.
Oh yeah, that can sound really weird.
Definitely. 5, ignoring pronunciation, thinking it doesn't matter as much as grammar. 6, lack of vocabulary, not actively building it. 7, not using authentic resources, sticking only to textbooks. 8, not setting clear goals, just sort of drifting. 9, not asking for feedback, learning in a vacuum. And 10, lack of consistency. Which ties back to number 1, really.
Wow, that's quite a list. It covers a lot of ground. Can we unpack a few of those? Like, how do we actively avoid falling into those traps?
Sure. Let's take the only focusing on grammar one. The fix is what we've been discussing. Balance. Integrate all 4 skills. Read, listen, speak, write. Don't just do grammar drills in isolation.
Makes sense. What about the fear of mistakes? We know it's bad, but how do you overcome it?
It's partly mindset. Consciously reminding yourself that mistakes are learning opportunities, not failures. Actively seeking out low-stakes situations to practice speaking, maybe with a patient partner first. And celebrating the small successes, the times you did communicate successfully.
Okay, mindset shift. And the literal translation issue.
That often comes from not enough input. The more authentic English you read and hear, the more you start to internalize natural English phrasing and word order. You begin to think more directly in English rather than translating thoughts from your native language.
So more input helps avoid awkward translations. Got it.
Yeah. And for pronunciation, don't ignore it. Listen carefully to native speakers. Maybe record yourself and compare. Use online dictionaries that have audio pronunciations. Dedicate some specific time to it.
Don't just assume people will understand if the sounds are off.
Right. And vocabulary, actively work on it. Read widely. Use context clues, and critically, use something like Anki to review and make sure new words actually stick.
Use SRS for vocab.
Huh.
Makes sense. What about authentic resources?
Don't be afraid to step outside the textbook. Watch movies, listen to music, follow news websites, find podcasts. Engage with English as it's really used by native speakers. It makes learning more relevant and often more fun.
Immerse yourself in real English.
Exactly. And goals don't just say, I want to learn English. Set SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Like, I want to be able to understand 70% of this podcast episode by next month. Or, I will learn 10 new words related to my hobby this week using Anki.
Concrete targets.
Yeah, they give you direction and something to aim for. And feedback. Ask for it. Don't be shy. Ask your teacher, tutor, or exchange partner to point out areas for improvement. How else will you know what to work on?
True. You need that external perspective.
And finally, consistency underlies everything. Find a routine that works for you, even if it's just a little bit each day, and stick to it as best you can. It's the compound effect over time that really makes a difference.
That consistency message is definitely coming through loud and clear. Okay, this is all fantastic practical advice, but learning a language is a long game. It can be tough sometimes. How do people stay motivated?
That's a huge factor. Maro Vgara really stressed motivation. And one key way to maintain it, which Rockefeller also mentioned, is setting those achievable goals we just talked about. Reaching small milestones feels good and keeps you going.
Celebrating the small wins.
Exactly. And the EF Go Bell blog had some great points about mindset, specifically avoiding negative self-talk.
Oh, like telling yourself I'm bad at English.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. It's so counterproductive. Instead, focus on the progress you have made. Acknowledge how far you've come, even if it feels slow. Be patient with yourself.
Reframe it positively. Focus on the journey, not just the destination.
Precisely. Remind yourself why you started learning English in the first place. What are your goals? Keeping that why in mind can be a powerful motivator when things get tough.
That's really important, connecting back to your personal reasons.
Absolutely. And try to make it enjoyable. Find materials you like, connect with people, focus on topics that interest you. If you enjoy the process, you're much more likely to stick with it.
Cultivating that positive mindset seems just as important as the learning techniques themselves.
I really think it is. It fuels the engine. If you believe you can improve and you're finding some enjoyment in it, you'll keep going.
Fantastic. And so let's try and wrap this all up. If we had to summarize the key takeaways from this deep dive into learning English faster and better, what would they be?
Well, number one is definitely that consistent daily practice, even short bursts. Make it a habit.
Right, little and often.
Number two, prioritize input before output. Lots of comprehensible listening and reading to build that strong foundation.
Become a sponge first.
Exactly. 3, actively work on all 4 skills: listening, reading, speaking, writing, using specific strategies like the ones we discussed for each.
Balance is key.
4, leverage technology smartly. Use tools like SRS, like Anki for efficient memorization, and choose other apps strategically to supplement your learning.
Tools to help, not replace.
5, be aware of the common mistakes like fear of errors or literal translation and actively work to avoid them.
Know the pitfalls.
And finally, number 6, maintain motivation and a positive attitude. Set achievable goals, focus on progress, and find enjoyment in the process.
Consistency, input focus, all 4 skills, smart tech, avoid mistakes, stay positive. That's a pretty solid framework.
I think so too. And the crucial thing now is for listeners to actually take 1 or 2 of these ideas and start putting them into practice today. Don't try to do everything at once, maybe. Just pick something that resonates and start.
Start small, build momentum. And remember, this whole journey of learning English, it's not really about reaching some final perfect point, is it? It's more of a continuous path of discovery and getting better all the time.
Beautifully put. It's always evolving.
Well, thank you so much for digging through all that and sharing these insights. It's been incredibly helpful.
My pleasure. It was fascinating to see the common threads emerge.
And a huge thank you to all of you listening for sticking with us through this deep dive. We really hope you found it valuable. And one last time, if you did get something useful from this discussion and want more practical advice on mastering English, please do consider subscribing.
We'd love to have you join us again.
Absolutely. Thanks again, everyone.